I am Marjolein Pijnappels, and today I'm going to talk to you about the future of human creation. And with that, I mean perinatal care. So, my first 20 questions of this lightning talk I'm going to dedicate to asking you a question. Like, who in this room has experienced perinatal care themselves? So, it's the care before, during, and after birth, like ultrasounds, birth, postpartum care, those kind of things. So show of hands. Yeah. So I have experience with that. This is me getting, very happily, very high on morphine during my first birth. But actually, 100% of you have experienced perinatal care because you were all born. Yet birth is not something we tend to think about before we get pregnant. And it's not something you see, in culture or pop culture, talked about or seen in songs. I mean, there's many songs about baby, like Justin Bieber's song, but it's not about a baby that you created and love fiercely. It's like birth is not represented in pop culture, or hardly. And if it is, it's wildly out of sync with the actual experience. And if it's like represented, it's like a punchline, like in this movie. And for the most common experience, right next to death, everyone is born. We don't think about it that much. So that's curious because birth marks a watershed moment in our lives and that of our mothers. Like birth is a very big predictor of how you will be doing mentally and physically later in life. And it has effect on how you will respond to stress or your anxiety or your base anxiety levels, obesity or IQ. And whether you are aware of it or not, there's a big debate going on about birth care right in this moment. So government and hospitals seek to centralize the midwifery care under hospital funding, and that opens up birth to further medicalization and technicalization, or that's the fear. And you can, question whether or not that's a bad or a new development. Pregnant women are already a kind of cyborg when, the moment you really, really feel pregnant is when you see your baby's ultrasound and you hear the heartbeat through these machines. And that's more real than the sensations you experience inside of your body. And the first midwives who used a stick to break the amniotic sac were using technology. But there's like a counter trend going on where people yearn for natural birth, whatever that may be, but, letting nature to go its course, having an undisturbed birth, like this staged photo in the project by Natalie Leonard. So that just has me wondering, like, what kind of future do we have? Like, what will birth care look like in the future? So I'm applying science fiction prototyping as a method to create these alternate futures, to critically examine these possible futures of birth care. And sci-fi prototyping, if you've not heard of it, it's a science fiction short story or movie, a comic. Like, it is a fantasy, but it's based on scientific proven technology and principles, or, societal developments. And it explores, humans' responses to a potential future development. So in my project, Futures of Human Creation, I explore several of these futures. And this project is still in a conception phase, and I'm figuring out, what stand to take and what to build and how to bring it into the world. But this is a poster I created as part of, speculating on different kinds of futures, from birth care. They were all quite dystopian, and I'm looking to see like a way to make it more also positive. So I have these two developments. One is like from the fourth feminist wave, and it's about, is it more societal awareness on gender inequality and recognition for women's bodily anatomy, and centering the mother or dehumanizing the mother as a mere vessel for the baby. And the other one is what I just talked about, like the goddess childbirth, the natural childbirth versus the cyborg childbirth, which is more medicalized. Like, if you extrapolate these trends, you could go to 4 different futures. I'm thinking about creating 4 different scenarios, 4 different stories based on 4 different scenarios. So what does science fiction prototyping bring to the table? It's really imagining the impacts of tech and societal developments on perinatal care, such as artificial wombs, male pregnancy, maybe abandoning the binary gender categories and women's emancipation. And that all leads to vastly different futures. And I'm just asking you to question and think about, do we want to live in either of these futures? Like, what what world do you want to live in? And yeah, I'm very happy to take any questions you have or any thoughts or ideas because the project's still in its conception phase. So I'm looking forward to maybe teaming up with someone if this topic grabs you. And yeah, if you have thoughts to help me further, please let me know. Thank you.